All right, Hardin County, this is the meeting from December 10th that I'm going to be reporting on. It's kind of a big one. There's a lot that kind of happens, so I'm going to maybe cut in and out as I go over my notes, but had regular pending. And Josh Anderson from the HHWP, which is the Hardin Hancock and Wyandotte Putnam consortium, came in and just giving an update. Now, Amber so Judy Tudor from JFS went off the board. Amber Cromley is coming in, and so she wanted to sit in just to kind of hear one of his updates for the commissioners. So he kind of went in and did a little bit of an overview of what they do. And it's a committee actions group from the 60s. It's private, nonprofit. They operate totally on federal grants, and so nothing, other nonprofits get donations and those kind of things. They do fundraisers, and he explained that they pretty much do just federal grants, and their goal is to reduce poverty and improve the lives and promote self-sufficiency, right? So they try to go out and assess the community and try to fill any needs that they find. They have worked a lot with the transportation the CATS transportation, and he's been doing this job for 11 years, which kudos to him, right? It's not always an easy job. And so he talked about some of their programs was a home weatherization program, where they go in and, some of these homes, sometimes they have windows that are completely out, with just blankets on top of them, or, the siding is off, or, and you're paying high prices for heating bills, which a lot of times you can pass your heating bills off to a third-party entity, and then they will pay for it, because you have a need, right? And so they go in and they can show that, he said it was a little bit big of a process, that you have to show that if you do this winterization, it's going to provide enough cost improvement to make it worthwhile. So, but like I said, some of these things, if you put in a whole window, of course that's going to bring your costs down because you're blocking a big hole, or you're putting in a door, and those kind of things. And so so that's kind of a cool program that they do. That's when they also are doing that, it makes it a safer home, so upgrades to the home and a safer home is really good, because these kids don't choose to live in the homes that they have to live in, and so I think that's a really cool program. They also do the WIC program. It's the across from Bourne's Tire and is it Jack and Doe's, and there's that old gas station on the corner. I saw today that they have a new sign. I'd never seen it before, and it talks about the WIC program, so they operate that. And they also are doing bulk fuel buying for the winter, so they can get it at a lower rate, so that when they pass that fuel buying on to other people, it's cheaper for them. They also are working at, I think they run Head Start, and I think if I remember, they tried to do an early Head Start type thing where it's 0 to 3 years old, and so they're making some progress on that, and so they're hoping to, it's again kind of a pilot program for them to see if there's a need and its benefit, and so they're kind of pushing forward and moving forward with that. So those kind of his things. I thought it was kind of interesting. Roger had asked if he felt after the new year if the transportation was going to continue to get their grants, because I don't know, what politics you follow, but there's a big push that from the Trump administration that subsidies are going to be taken away, and that maybe belts are going to get a little tighter. We're not going to be, the federal government may not be getting out more federal aid, right? And so I felt like he had a very pragmatic response that he doesn't know, and that they're going to continue to operate, but at any point in time, projects like him, because it's all federal grants, that if those grants dry up, then that program goes away. And so I'm sure he's biting his fingernails to find out what's going to happen by the end of next year when some of these policies and things come through. And you know, I do know that I think CATS is doing very well. They have lots of rides. They're providing a opportunity for our community, and so hopefully that will continue. So anyway, so that was HHWP. We had Richard Lawson came in for a maintenance update, and I thought it was really interesting. You know, we had all the Canton Road construction going, we had the Christmas downtown, and the commissioners really wanted to get this roof put on the courthouse like by the end of the year. You know, it's like push, 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 and here we are. You know, they've only gotten half of the roof done, and it's not going to be finished by the end of the year. It'll be after January 1st. They only have, you know, a little bit of time left to work, and with the weather and all these things. So I just think it's kind of funny because it was such a push to get this roof done, and it's not going to be done anyway. So that's construction. That's kind of how, you know, we've seen with the road work on the Kenton side, that, you know, the cold weather comes in and it really puts you at a standstill. So, you know, they can try to project as much as they want, but at the end you're at the mercy of the weather. So what else? They talked about the safety center, that they're getting carpet tiles. It's $5,000 to get carpet tiles. No, I think the carpet tiles are going down in the basement of the courthouse. So I tried to take a video. I need to go back, but they've drywalled over perfectly good paneling in the basement because they wanted it to look a little bit nicer, and they've painted it, and they're gonna pull up those tiles and put down carpet tiles, I think, is what they're doing down there. And of course I'll get a video, but they've got fancy new locks on the doors. I mean, it's gonna be all modern, you know. And they were worried, they were talking about the ceiling, and I thought Tim had a good suggestion, right? So they were talking about putting things back up on the walls, right, where things are gonna go. And they had 3 big bulletin boards, and I guess it's real echoey down there, and they didn't have the ceiling in. So Tim said, you know, if we were gonna get new bulletin boards, maybe we could get those fabric ones, right, that are coated and soft, so that when you pin things up, it also acts as a sound dampener, right? Which I was like, that's a great idea. And the other two poo-pooed it. They were like, oh, we put the roof or the ceiling back up and it helps it a whole lot. So, you know, Tim's idea, although I thought it was a great idea, did not fly with the other two. So Richard was talking about, there's the Ag Hall of Fame. When you like walk in, you know, you kind of have the maintenance people over here, and then there's a little bit of a jog, and there's the Ag Hall of Fame, and evidently that's going away. You know, they don't know where they're going to put it, but they're not going to put it back there, which I think was a surprise to the commissioners. They all seemed a little bit, you know, put back that the Ag Society wasn't going back up there, or the Ag Hall of Fame. And Richard wants to, he's got a lot of courthouse memorabilia and history, so he wants to make a spot for courthouse history. And so, you know, maybe that's going to take the place of the Ag Hall of Fame, you know, but so he wants to find a spot for that. And then they got to talking about wanting to put a mural up that when you walk in, there's a banner that says welcome to the courthouse, and have somebody come in and paint it. And, you know, I think it's really funny, especially with the next person who's going to come into the office and speak, that, you know, we have kind of these long drawn out conversations about, you know, oh, we should get fancy cameras, and we should, you know, update this and paint this and spend $2,000 here and $5,000 there and $10,000 there, right? Just on aesthetics, nothing that's like super practical, right? Because nothing's fallen down. I mean, yeah, it looks dated, but it's clean and it works. And you know, they're all for it. They're all for it. Oh yeah, that sounds great, you know, type of thing. But Paul Osborne comes in from the village of Alger. He's the village administrator over there, and I hear great things about his work. And so he comes in and he says their wastewater system is 40 years old. You know, they usually last, I think, 15, 20 years, 30 years, you know, so theirs is definitely served its time. The lagoons are filling up. It takes $1 million, which we know from Forest, to dredge those lagoons. And so they've had Wessler come in. Wessler's working with Dunkirk, they're working with Forest, they're working with Alger. And I mean, I hear they're a good group, good engineering group. And so they have come in and done an assessment and have an engineering plan. Now what Paul is asking is they want to purchase the plan. It's $48,000 to purchase that plan, so that now you're the owner of it. You can determine who your contractors are, when things get contracted, you know, you can kind of budget that kind of stuff out. The alternative, and kind of like what Forrest is looking at, is that when the EPA comes in and they say, hey, you got a deadline, this is what you have to do, and we're going to give you a loan to do it, and here's your timeline, quick, right? And this is what you're going to be stuck with. Now, Alger just came out of that. They had a water loan and a sewer loan. I don't know if it's been 30 years, but in 2000, was it this year, 24, that they I think it was just really in this last month that they, one of their loans, which was $5 per home, or per unit, was to go to this loan. And so it finally just dropped off. So they were being charged $75 for either the water or the sewer. That fee has come off, so actually their bill has gone down by the $5, right? Which is great for the citizens because they're not paying that loan anymore. They still have a loan on the other side, and they don't want to go back into that system with the EPA, where the EPA is in charge and they get to set the price and do all those things, because you know, the one loan did come off, but the other one didn't, and it really just takes it out of your hands. And they want to go through and make sure they're doing this correctly, rather than, like I said, getting stuck in an EPA cycle where you're at the mercy of these 30-year loans and you can't do anything about it, right? So, and some of that is that if you buy a house in McGuffey, and I know this for McGuffey, I'm assuming it's the same thing for Alger, but if you buy a house, sorry if I'm getting those all confused, if you buy a house in McGuffey and you buy the lot next to it and you tear down the house, well, each of those lots are on the loan, and so you have to pay, even if you're not getting any water or sewer in that location, you have to pay the full amount because it's built into the system. You don't have any wiggle room in adjusting that. And so there's just a lot of things. So they're asking for $48,000 to own this plan so that they can kind of take it and step it forward the best that they can for Alger. Let's see. They were looking for grants. Oh yeah, so they want to purchase the PER, is what I have on my notes, the preliminary engineering report. So anyways, I know how these conversations go, so I predicted, in my mind, what the commissioners were going to say, and they totally fell right into it, because they go, well, we gave all the villages $50,000, and we did give you, Alger, $50,000, and so, we don't really have any more money for you. And I'll see if I can find my paper here that I'm not gonna have it. So anyways, so they're pretty much like, yeah, you know what, we've already give you $50,000. With $50,000 out of $6 million is just the tiny littlest bit. I mean, they've spent $50,000 doing little miscellaneous repairs around the courthouse. They've spent $750,000 on sewer properties for 24 houses. So, you know, to sit back and say, well, we've given you enough money and we don't really have any more for you. And kudos to Paul, that he said, well, I'm going to be back, right? I'm going to be back because this is really important for Alger to set them in a good position. And so, you know, they didn't really know what to say to that. They, you know, they only have until the end of the year. I don't know that it has changed with the ARPA money. Mike thought maybe they would change the ARPA money so that it could be a little more flexible, that, you know, we'd be able to run into next year to do allocations. I haven't heard that yet. And so as far as I know, they've allocated the money to the fairgrounds at $500,000, and it's gonna go into next year and nobody's touching it. So, you know, so what I have on the amount that other villages have gotten from the ARPA money, because they said, you know, we've given you $51,000 or something. I didn't see that. You know, if we exclude Kenton got $958,000, Ada got $610, Alger $140, Dunkirk $136, Forest $251, McGuffey $95, Mount Victory $63, Patterson and Ridgeway refused any money. And then we've got the townships, and they have $70,000, $107,000, $51,000, $144. Pleasant Township got $202,000 because they used probably about half of that for tearing down the mausoleum. Taylor Creek only got $55,000, $70,000. So where they said that, you know, well, we've given everybody $50,000, I don't know. That's not the data that I got from them. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe I'm not. But I can't say that I always understand their numbers. So that part of it, but like I said, I knew that they would not be open to helping the villages. That's not what they do. That's why, so if you look at the meeting from the 12th to today's the 12th, that when Luke came in and he asked for $160,000 to do some road repairs because he got grant money, that I thought that was really interesting. And nothing against Luke, he does a great job, but the commissioners are like, oh, that's something that we can support, right? And so sure, you can have the $160,000, you know, but somebody comes in and say, hey, this is pivotal, you know, we need a $50,000. It's like, nope, not happening. So anyways, it just boggles my mind. So back on subject, Paul also mentioned the Ray Brown project. They've been working on it for 3 years. And I don't have the papers. I'll try and put them up. It's a historical monument to Ray Brown, and they're trying to make some do a fundraiser for that. So, Richard, if I go back to Richard, he also talked about the fact that, you know, they were all into doing the safety center. So they talked about for 2 years doing the safety center down at the sheriff's station, and it kind of just got slow walked all the time, and then they were like, oh, we should work on that. And so then they kind of had a push of activity, and then all this stuff happened at the courthouse, and now Richard's like, yeah, I'm not really working on it anymore. And so it's just kind of sitting there. So who knows when they'll pick that back up again, but hopefully they will continue to move forward with it. They've already invested a lot of money in it. So there's that. But so while I was waiting in the meeting, in between meetings, I went and grabbed the journal so I could kind of go through, make sure I haven't really forgotten anything. Oh, something else. Roger had to miss part of the meeting because he was at a community corrections meeting in the Veterans Hall, so I don't know what that was all about. But back on November 21st, there was a thing in there where, so Crest bought our beds so that they can build a new nursing home facility, and they bought 78 of them. They've come back and lowered that to 64. They said they couldn't build anything bigger than 64 beds, and so they had to pay a fee to get a rush on that so that they can continue to move forward. So hopefully, that's a good sign that they are continuing to move forward. I haven't heard that they have found land. They only have a year to find the land, and if they don't continue with the purchase of them, and like say they back out at the last minute, then we lose those beds in July. We only have them for a year, so it is a little concerning. Still keeping our ears and eyes out for that. Also, Sharon Houston had come in and they had made $32,000 from the auction, and the building is 98% empty. And so, they had 5 people on, which I still think they have 5 people full-time working out there. And Brandy Vaughn was supposed to leave after the end of the auction because she was on so that she could manage all the supplies. And they have renewed her employment until July 3rd. So keep working, Brandy, making all the big bucks there. So the museum had come in. Oh, so this was the day that I got kicked out of the meeting at the beginning. The museum, Kent Museum came in. They talked about the fact that they have always had grants for the payroll, and they're not able to get those. The commissioners they basically created the museum, so they're kind of saying, hey, you're kind of responsible for this. They sold the house, they've done investments, they're short $25,000 a year. They only bring in $20,000 a year, so their expenses are right at $46,000. And so there is no levy available, so they can't do a levy. And again, you can predict what the commissioners are gonna say, and they were like, well, we don't really, support people like this, and if we do give you the $25,000 for salaries, we're really gonna need to see a business plan so that you can make your own revenue. You need to be independently supplied, and on and on and on. It's the same old story. They don't like to support anything that's for the community. Roads, building repairs, updates, those are good. Anything else, employment, libraries, museums, health departments, none of that's important. They just don't support it. I appreciate people coming in and asking and bringing that, to them. It's just sad that they feel like that's not their responsibility. And so they really just gave them a hard time, basically told them that, they really need to do this on their own. Which is, I think it's kind of interesting, because when you look at, some of the things, the commissioners are supposed to be over the GIS office, but they put it under the engineers. They're supposed to pay more money for their municipal court, but they don't pay that. So they don't pay all their bills, and so they really shouldn't be pointing the finger and telling people that they need to do it on their own, because I don't feel they pay their own bills. So they're here's another one. So these are kind of things I found in the journal. The NWOSS they were looking at $10,000 for new cameras and security for the commissioner's office. They did turn that down, thank goodness. But they did get new phone systems and servers, and that was like 20 grand. I mean, we could have given that to the museum, but whatever. There's another thing, that the Chase Stewart Trust Fund, there was a guy that came in and submitted his veteran bills. So if you're a veteran and you have bills, that you can use this Chase Stewart Trust Fund. They hired at JFS, they hired Tamika Jones as a referral specialist, and Tia Hamilton. So those, kind of getting some workers back in there. The November 14th, they talked about the engineer signed a contract to replace a bridge over on County Road 190. November 14th is when the commissioners paid the bill for the livestock building at the fairgrounds. So we'll be interested to see, that was from the WDC group. That was just under $20,000. So they helped them purchase their engineering specs, you know, and that's only half the cost of Alger. So again, I don't see it. So November 5th, oh, this is kind of interesting. November 5th, Sleigh Ball Contracting, it's $5,000. They are getting a custom-made countertop with storage and a swing gate and plexiglass window to put in the commissioner's office. So I don't know, but you know, it's for their office. They've got an extra $5,000 from him. You know, it's probably a permanent improvement over there. They insulated the probate walls for the drywall in between there. That was $3,000. The municipal court cameras and laptop system, that was $20,000. New servers, $13,000. New phones, $2,000, and then $2,000 a month. They got cameras. Painting was $2,100. You know, striping the West Annex parking lot was $900. So, I mean, we have money. We have money that we're just kind of giving out to do these little cosmetic things, but, you know, whatever. And, oh yeah, and then Brandy Baum, that was on November 21st, got her employment pushed out to January 3rd. Will it get pushed out again? Maybe. They, when Sharon Houston came in, she said that they had 6 months that they could pay their current salaries, and so I'm sure they're going to use all of those 6 months. It'll be interesting if they start dipping out of the general fund to make those salaries, because you know that could happen. So anyways, we just need to continue keeping an eye on when people say they don't have money and yet it's all going out the back door to fund these special projects. We all need to be watching, we all need to be involved. And so sorry this video was really long. We had a lot to catch up on, a lot happening, and we will talk to you later. All right, bye.